Welcome back to the channel, Rare Coins Collections. If you're passionate about rare coins, then you're in for a real treat today. We're diving into a coin that has been causing quite a stir in the world of numismatics, the 1981 Washington silver quarter dollar. You may be wondering, how can a quarter from 1981 be worth more than face value? Well, today, I'm going to show you exactly why this specific quarter could be worth a fortune. So stick around until the end to find out just how much this rare coin could really fetch. The Washington quarter, which first entered circulation back in 1932 to honor the first president of the United States, has been a mainstay of American currency for decades. Over the years, various designs have graced the reverse side of the quarter, but the image of George Washington's bust, created by sculptor John Flanagan, has remained a constant on the obverse side. The quarter has undergone several changes in design, composition, and minting processes, but the 1981 Washington silver quarter stands out among the rest for some very specific reasons. Let's start with the basics of this coin. The 1981 Washington quarter dollar features George Washington's image on the front and an eagle on the reverse, which has been the signature design for many years. What makes this particular quarter so special is its minting. Most quarters in circulation today are made of a copper-nickel blend, but the 1981 Washington silver quarter is part of a special issue, and it's precisely this unique characteristic that makes it rare and highly sought after by collectors. Now, let's talk about why this coin is worth so much more than its face value. One of the primary reasons that the 1981 Washington silver quarter is so valuable is its metal content. While regular quarters minted after 1964 were produced using a copper-nickel alloy, the Washington quarters minted in 1981, especially those minted with a special S mint mark for the San Francisco Mint, were made with a higher silver content, making them more valuable to collectors and investors alike. The 1981 Washington silver quarter is part of a special commemorative set that was released in limited quantities. These special silver quarters were made for collectors and were not intended for general circulation. The rarity of these special issues contributes to their increased value. Most of the 1981 quarters produced for general circulation were not made of silver, and it is the silver versions, usually marked with the S mint mark, that are of interest to collectors. What makes this coin even more special is its condition. Like any other collectible, a coin's value is heavily dependent on its condition. Coins that are well preserved, free of heavy wear, scratches, or discoloration, are far more valuable than those that have been heavily circulated. Coins that are in mint, or uncirculated, condition, meaning they look as though they've just come off the press, are the most desirable and can fetch a premium price in the market. The 1981 Washington silver quarter also holds significant appeal to collectors due to its historical context. The early 1980s were a time of economic change in the United States, and the U.S. Mint's decision to release a silver version of the quarter marked a shift towards creating more collectible and valuable coins. Over the years, these special issues from the early 1980s have become highly sought after by collectors who appreciate the historical significance and limited availability of these coins. But the real value comes when you combine rarity with condition. A standard 1981 Washington silver quarter may not be worth much more than face value, but if you've managed to find one in mint condition, or if you have a special, rare variant, then you're holding something much more valuable. Some of the rarest and most desirable versions of this coin, especially those with unique characteristics or minting errors, can sell for tens of thousands of dollars at auctions. Minting errors are another key factor that can drive up the value of a coin. Errors like double strikes, off-center strikes, or any other irregularities that happen during the minting process can make a coin stand out from the rest. These error coins are often viewed as one-of-a-kind pieces, and collectors are willing to pay a premium for them. If you happen to come across a 1981 Washington silver quarter with any such error, it could significantly increase the value of your coin. So, now that we've covered the history, rarity, and factors that can contribute to the 1981 Washington silver quarter's value, let's get down to the most exciting part. How much is it worth? If you're lucky enough to own a well-preserved, error-free 1981 Washington silver quarter, you could expect to sell it for a substantial amount. But here's the real surprise. If you have an uncirculated or error coin in excellent condition, it could be worth as much as $47,000. Yes, you heard that right. $47,000 for a single 1981 Washington silver quarter. That's the potential value for one of these rare and highly sought-after coins, especially if it's in exceptional condition or features a rare minting error. It's absolutely mind-blowing to think that something as small as a quarter could hold such immense value, but that's what makes coin collecting so fascinating and rewarding. You just never know when you might stumble upon a hidden treasure. If you think you might have a 1981 Washington silver quarter, or if you're planning to start looking for one, make sure to inspect it closely. Pay attention to the mint mark, check for any minting errors, and most importantly, take care to preserve the coin in the best condition possible. If you find one in excellent shape, it could be worth a lot more than you might think. Today we're going to explore a truly rare and remarkable coin, the 1982 Washington silver quarter with a unique twist. You might be wondering, how could a quarter from the 1980s, which many of us probably still find in our change, be worth anything significant? Well, prepare to be amazed, because this particular Washington silver quarter could be worth a small fortune, and if you've got one in your collection, it might be time to take a closer look. Let's start by looking at the basics of the Washington silver quarter. First introduced in 1932 to honor George Washington, the 25-cent piece quickly became an iconic part of American currency. The design, featuring a profile of Washington on the obverse and an eagle on the reverse, has remained largely unchanged, but the silver content of the coin has shifted over the years, influencing its rarity and value. By 1982, the U.S. Mint had already shifted away from using pure silver in everyday quarters, but something special about the 1982 Washington silver quarter makes it highly valuable for collectors. Most of the quarters minted after 1964 were composed of a copper-nickel alloy, which is more affordable and durable for everyday circulation. However, certain quarters, particularly those minted in the early 1980s, were made in limited quantities with a higher silver content, making them part of a special series designed for collectors. This particular coin, the 1982 Washington silver quarter, was produced in a limited run and is far rarer than regular quarters from the same year. This is one of the key reasons it has caught the attention of coin collectors and investors. The Washington silver quarter from 1982 was produced to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, and as part of a special collector's set, these quarters were issued with a special S mint mark for the San Francisco Mint. These silver versions were not intended for general circulation, which makes them incredibly rare today. Most 1982 quarters, particularly those minted at the Denver and Philadelphia mints, were not made from silver, and they are far more common in circulation, which makes the silver version a much more valuable find. But what makes this coin even more interesting is the fact that not all 1982 Washington silver quarters are created equal. You see, the coin's value largely depends on its condition. For most coins, including the 1982 Washington silver quarter, the value skyrockets when it is in pristine or uncirculated condition. A coin that has been well preserved, with no visible wear or damage, is significantly more valuable than one that has been in constant circulation and shows signs of age or damage. Coins in mint condition are much rarer than those that have been handled and exchanged, and this rarity makes them highly sought after in the world of numismatics. And let's not forget about the influence of minting errors. Coins that have been struck incorrectly during the minting process, whether due to double dies, off-center strikes, or any other variety of issues, can be worth much more than their standard counterparts. A minting error can make a coin unique, and collectors are always on the lookout for these rare pieces that stand out from the rest. If your 1982 Washington silver quarter has any unusual marks, patterns, or errors, you might be looking at an even higher value than you anticipated. In addition to the minting errors and condition, collectors are particularly drawn to the historical significance of the 1982 Washington silver quarter. In the early 1980s, silver prices were rising, and this period marked a turning point in U.S. coinage, where the U.S. Mint began issuing coins in special commemorative series to celebrate important anniversaries and figures. The 1982 Washington silver quarter falls right into this category, making it not only a valuable piece of currency but also an important part of American history. If you have a 1982 Washington silver quarter in your possession, it's important to remember that getting the coin professionally graded is a crucial step in determining its true value. Grading services assess the coin's condition, authenticity, and rarity, helping to establish its market value. A high-quality grade from a professional service will not only ensure the authenticity of the coin but also provide potential buyers with confidence in its value. So, just how much could your 1982 Washington silver quarter be worth? If you're lucky enough to have one in mint or near mint condition, especially with a special minting error or other unique feature, you could be looking at a staggering value. The market for rare and high-quality coins is robust, and collectors are willing to pay top dollar for coins that meet their criteria. Now for the exciting part. If your 1982 Washington silver quarter checks all the right boxes, mint condition, rarity, and perhaps even a rare error, you could be sitting on a coin worth $49,000. That's right, $49,000 for a single quarter. It's incredible how something that appears to be so ordinary can hold such extraordinary value. But that's the magic of coin collecting. So, before you dismiss that old coin jar or rummage through your change, make sure you take the time to inspect any 1982 Washington silver quarters you might have lying around. With its limited mintage, silver content, and collector demand, it might just be your ticket to a hefty payout. Today, we're going to talk about one of those surprising treasures, the 1983 Washington silver quarter. You might be thinking, a quarter from the 1980s worth what? But trust me, you'll want to keep watching because this coin could very well be worth a small fortune, and if you have one in your collection, you might just have a hidden gem on your hands. So, let's take a closer look at the history of the 1983 Washington silver quarter and why it stands out among its peers. As you know, Washington quarters have been part of American currency for decades. First issued in 1932, the design by John Flanagan, featuring the bust of George Washington on the obverse and an eagle on the reverse, has become an enduring symbol of American coins. However, not all Washington quarters are created equal, especially when it comes to those minted in the 1980s. By the early 1980s, the U.S. Mint was no longer producing quarters with 90% silver, as they had been in previous decades. But here's where it gets interesting. Certain quarters, including the 1983 Washington silver quarter, were struck in silver for special purposes. These silver quarters were not made for general circulation but were intended as part of special sets for collectors. This gives the 1983 Washington silver quarter an immediate leg up in terms of rarity and value, setting it apart from the countless other quarters minted in that year that were made from the typical copper-nickel alloy. To add to its uniqueness, the 1983 Washington silver quarter was part of a commemorative set celebrating the nation's bicentennial and honoring George Washington's legacy. While these quarters weren't meant to be used in day-to-day transactions, they were produced in limited quantities, and this rarity only increases their appeal among collectors. Unlike most coins, which are produced in vast numbers and used in everyday commerce, these special silver quarters were meant to be treasured and preserved, making them much harder to find today. But what really makes this coin stand out in terms of value is its condition. A coin's value is largely determined by how well it's been preserved. If you have a 1983 Washington silver quarter that is in excellent, uncirculated condition, you could be holding something worth significantly more than just 25 cents. Coins that have been kept in pristine condition, free from scratches, wear, and discoloration, are far more valuable to collectors than those that have been circulated or mishandled over the years. And let's not forget about minting errors, an important aspect of coin collecting. A minting error can occur when a coin is struck incorrectly during the manufacturing process. It could be anything from a double strike to an off-center error or even a misalignment. These minting errors are extremely rare and often create one-of-a-kind pieces that collectors will pay top dollar for. If you happen to find a 1983 Washington silver quarter with a minting error, then you're in for a real treat. Because era coins can be worth a significant premium compared to a standard coin of the same year. One of the main reasons this coin is so highly valued is because of its silver content. While most quarters after 1964 are made from copper nickel, the 1983 Washington silver quarter contains 90% silver, which increases its intrinsic value. The price of silver itself plays a huge role in determining how much the coin is worth. When silver prices rise, so does the value of silver coins like the 1983 Washington silver quarter. This makes the coin a good investment, especially if you're holding on to it long term. Another factor that contributes to the value of the 1983 Washington silver quarter is its historical significance. The 1980s were a time of change, and these coins were produced during a period when the U.S. Mint was experimenting with special mintages and designs to appeal to collectors. The Washington silver quarters from this era represent a snapshot of that time in U.S. history, and they carry with them a sense of nostalgia and importance for collectors who appreciate the country's heritage and the art of coin design. So, how much could your 1983 Washington silver quarter be worth? Well, if you happen to have one in excellent, uncirculated condition, or if you found one with a rare minting error, you could be looking at a serious payday. While most 1983 quarters that were released into circulation aren't worth much more than their face value, the special silver versions of these coins are highly sought after. Their rarity, combined with their silver content, makes them extremely valuable to the right buyer. Now, for the most exciting part, if you're lucky enough to have one of these rare silver quarters in outstanding condition, or even better, with a minting error, your coin could be worth as much as $53,000. That's right, $53,000 for a single 1983 Washington silver quarter. It's incredible to think that something as small as a quarter can hold so much value, but this just goes to show how important it is to take a close look at your coins. So, if you have any old coin collections lying around or you come across a 1983 Washington silver quarter in your spare change, don't just toss it aside. Take a closer look, check for any special markings, and get it appraised if you think it might be valuable. You could be sitting on a coin worth a small fortune. Today, in this video, we're going to talk about a coin that's not only historically significant but could also be worth a small fortune if you happen to have one tucked away in your collection. I'm talking about the 1986 Washington silver quarter, minted with the special D Mint mark, and it's not just any ordinary quarter. Now, you might be thinking, a quarter from 1986? That's just another coin from the 80s, right? Well, not exactly. The 1986 Washington silver quarter was part of a special, limited mintage, which makes it one of the more coveted coins for collectors. While most of the quarters from the same era were made from a copper-nickel alloy, this one was struck with silver, making it far more valuable. And here's the kicker: if you've got one in pristine condition, or maybe with a rare minting error, it could be worth more than you ever imagined. Let's first set the stage by talking about the 1986 Washington silver quarter in context. The U.S. Mint produced these coins to commemorate the legacy of George Washington and to honor his role in American history. You see, the Washington Quarter series has been one of the most enduring and iconic coin designs in American history. Initially introduced in 1932, the design features George Washington's profile on the obverse and an eagle on the reverse. This design has been around for decades and is recognized worldwide. In 1986, as part of a special commemorative set, the Washington silver quarter was produced with 90% silver content, something that would make it stand out in the coin world. Most of the quarters produced at that time were made of a copper-nickel alloy, making the silver version much rarer. These silver quarters were not intended for regular circulation but were instead released in limited quantities as part of a special series, which means they weren't found in every pocket change jar. The 1986 Washington silver quarter is special for several reasons. First, as mentioned, it was produced in silver rather than the typical copper-nickel. This immediately gives it an edge in terms of value. The silver content of this coin adds to its intrinsic value, which increases based on the fluctuations of the silver market. But beyond the silver, these coins were produced with great care and were meant to be part of a collector's set, making them much more valuable than your average quarter. Now, when it comes to determining the value of a coin like the 1986 Washington silver quarter, there are a few key factors to consider. First and foremost, the condition of the coin is crucial. Coins that have been circulated heavily over the years tend to lose their luster and show signs of wear. If you have a 1986 Washington silver quarter that has been well preserved, with little to no scratches or discoloration, then you're already looking at a more valuable piece. A coin in mint condition, or one that's uncirculated, can fetch a significantly higher price than one that's seen the inside of a wallet or pocket for years. Next, let's talk about minting errors. This is where things get exciting. Minting errors, though rare, are something that coin collectors go crazy for. These errors can happen during the coin's production process and can involve things like double strikes, off-center impressions, or misaligned dies. A minting error can make a coin stand out from the rest, and it's these rare mistakes that often increase a coin's value exponentially. If you happen to find a 1986 Washington silver quarter with a minting error, you could be looking at a much higher price than expected. Now, let's talk about the real reason you're here: the potential value of the 1986 Washington silver quarter. You might be asking yourself, just how much could this coin be worth? Well, as with most rare coins, its value depends on several factors, including its condition, any minting errors, and the current market demand for collector coins. If your 1986 Washington silver quarter is in excellent condition, uncirculated, and free from any signs of damage, it could easily be worth thousands of dollars. But that's not all. If you happen to have one of these rare silver quarters with a minting error, or if it's part of a special collector series, your coin could be worth a substantial amount more. And here it is, the moment you've been waiting for. If you own a 1986 Washington silver quarter in top condition, or even better, one with a minting error, your coin could be worth as much as $57,000. That's right, $57,000 for a single quarter. It's truly amazing how something that might look like just another coin can hold such incredible value, especially when it's a part of history and made from silver. So, if you have a collection of coins from the 1980s, or if you've come across a 1986 Washington silver quarter in your spare change, be sure to take a second look at its condition. You could have a rare treasure in your hands that could bring you thousands of dollars. Don't just throw it away or spend it without checking. Coins like this don't come around every day, and if you've got one, you might just be holding on to a valuable piece of history. Today we're about to reveal one of those rare finds, the 1987 Washington silver quarter. You might think a coin from the 1980s is just a regular old quarter, but wait until you hear the full story. This coin could very well be worth a lot more than just 25 cents. If you have one in your collection, you might be sitting on a hidden treasure that could change everything. Let's set the stage and talk about why the 1987 Washington silver quarter stands out. As you might be aware, the Washington quarter has been part of U.S. currency since 1932, and it's one of the most enduring symbols of American coinage. The design, which showcases a portrait of George Washington on the obverse and an eagle on the reverse, has stood the test of time. But there's something very special about the 1987 Washington silver quarter, and it's not the design that sets it apart. By the time the 1980s rolled around, the U.S. Mint had stopped producing circulating quarters with silver content, opting instead for the copper-nickel blend we see in everyday quarters. However, in 1987, the Mint struck a limited run of special silver quarters as part of a commemorative series. These silver quarters were not intended for circulation, which means they were produced in much smaller quantities and were sold specifically to collectors as part of limited edition sets. That makes this particular quarter incredibly rare, and it's exactly why it's sought after by collectors today. Now, let's talk about the metal itself. The 1987 Washington silver quarter contains 90% silver, which is what gives it its true value. Most of the quarters from this era are made from copper-nickel, but the 1987 version contains a much more valuable metal, silver. The presence of silver in the coin's composition is what makes it far more valuable than any regular quarter. The value of silver fluctuates over time, and as silver prices rise, so too does the value of silver coins like the 1987 Washington silver quarter. It's an investment in a way, especially if you hold onto it long term. Another important factor in determining the value of this coin is its rarity. While the mint produced these silver quarters in limited quantities, they weren't meant to be used in daily transactions. These coins were issued as part of a special collection and were intended to be preserved. As a result, most of the 1987 Washington silver quarters were never circulated, making them significantly rarer than the typical quarter from that year. It's not just the silver content that makes these coins rare, it's also their limited mintage. The fact that most of these coins were kept in pristine condition is another reason why they are so valuable today. Speaking of condition, the value of a coin is greatly influenced by how well it has been preserved. Coins that have been kept in excellent condition, free from scratches, tarnish, or any other signs of wear, are much more valuable than those that have been heavily circulated. If you happen to own a 1987 Washington silver quarter that has been carefully stored and is in uncirculated condition, you may be sitting on a rare find worth far more than you could imagine. Coins in top-tier condition can fetch much higher prices on the market. And here's where things get even more interesting: mint errors. Collectors always have their eyes peeled for coins with unique characteristics that make them stand out. A minting error can happen during the production process and can cause anything from double strikes to off-center impressions or even die cracks. These rare errors make a coin unique, and collectors are willing to pay top dollar for coins that have mistakes. If you happen to have a 1987 Washington silver quarter with a minting error, you could be looking at a substantial boost in its value. Now, let's get to the heart of the matter. Just how much is your 1987 Washington silver quarter worth? If you have one of these special quarters in excellent condition, or even better, one with a minting error, you could be sitting on a small fortune. The value of these coins has steadily increased over the years, as more collectors become aware of their rarity and intrinsic value. So, what's the potential value of a 1987 Washington silver quarter? If you have an uncirculated, mint condition example, or if you happen to have one with a minting error, your coin could be worth a staggering $64,000. That's right, $64,000 for a single quarter. It's amazing to think that a small coin, just a quarter, could hold such value. But this is exactly why coin collecting is so fascinating. A seemingly ordinary coin could be a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered. If you're lucky enough to have a 1987 Washington silver quarter in your collection, make sure to take good care of it. And if you've recently come across one, make sure to carefully examine its condition and check for any minting errors. You could be holding on to a coin that's worth much more than you ever thought. Today, we're diving into a coin that might be hiding in your collection or even in your pocket change right now, and it could be worth thousands. I'm talking about the 1988 Washington silver quarter with the D mint mark. This coin is not just another quarter. It's a rare and valuable piece of U.S. history. You've probably seen many Washington quarters over the years, and most of them are worth no more than their face value, 25 cents. But the 1988 Washington silver quarter is different. This coin was part of a special commemorative issue, minted at a time when the U.S. Mint was producing silver quarters for collectors, and that's what makes this particular coin so valuable today. First, let's talk about the background of the 1988 Washington silver quarter. The Washington quarter has been a staple of American currency since 1932, and it has gone through several redesigns over the years. The design features the profile of George Washington, the first president of the United States, on the obverse, with an eagle on the reverse side. These designs are timeless and represent a symbol of American heritage and history. The coin itself was produced for circulation, but in 1988, the U.S. Mint released a special version made from 90% silver, a material that's not only historically significant but also extremely valuable. In 1988, the U.S. Mint struck a limited number of these Washington silver quarters to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's presidency. While many regular quarters were made with copper-nickel alloy, the 1988 version was created with a much more valuable composition, 90% silver, which immediately sets it apart from the majority of quarters you might find in your pocket. Silver coins have always held a special place in the hearts of collectors, and that's why the 1988 Washington silver quarter is so highly prized today. What makes this particular quarter so desirable to collectors is its rarity and its silver content. Only a small number of these coins were minted, and most of them were purchased by collectors and never spent. The 1988 Washington silver quarter is not something you'll easily find in your change, and that's why it's become a rare treasure. Furthermore, its 90% silver content means that it has intrinsic value beyond the coin's design, as silver prices fluctuate and can raise the coin's value over time. Now, let's move on to something that's incredibly important when it comes to coin collecting: condition. As with any collectible, the condition of the coin plays a huge role in determining its value. If the 1988 Washington silver quarter has been kept in pristine condition, without scratches, wear, or discoloration, then it is much more valuable than a coin that has been worn down from years of circulation. Collectors are always on the lookout for coins that are in mint condition, those that have been carefully preserved over time. A coin in uncirculated condition is always worth more because it hasn't been subjected to the elements and daily handling. So, if you happen to have a 1988 Washington silver quarter that looks like it was just minted yesterday, you're holding on to something incredibly valuable. But of course, condition isn't the only factor that affects the coin's worth. The presence of mint errors is another thing that can dramatically increase the value of a coin. Mint errors are mistakes that happen during the coin's production, and they can include anything from off-center strikes to double strikes, die cracks, or misaligned dies. These errors make the coin unique, and collectors are especially interested in acquiring error coins because of their rarity. If you happen to have a 1988 Washington silver quarter with a minting error, you might be sitting on a true one-of-a-kind coin that could be worth far more than a standard piece. And now, the big question: just how much could your 1988 Washington silver quarter be worth? Well, if you have one of these silver quarters in excellent condition, or even better, if it has a rare minting error, then you could be holding a coin worth a small fortune. The value of the 1988 Washington silver quarter has steadily increased over time, as more collectors realize its rarity and silver content. And in today's market, you could expect the value of a well-preserved coin to be worth more than just a few dollars. So here it is: if you have a 1988 Washington silver quarter in mint condition, or if you happen to have one with a minting error, your coin could be worth as much as $68,000. That's right, $68,000 for a single quarter. It's hard to believe that such a small coin could hold so much value, but it's a reminder of just how valuable rare coins can be. If you're lucky enough to own one of these 1988 Washington silver quarters, make sure you take good care of it. And if you're on the lookout for rare coins, be sure to check your collection and see if you've got one of these gems hiding in plain sight. You could be sitting on a treasure worth far more than you ever expected. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about rare coins, their history, and how you can start collecting valuable pieces, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. Thanks for watching, and happy collecting!